It is a little after 3 in the morning. On a peninsula in northern Greece, in the dark, a monk lifts a long wooden plank and a small mallet and begins to strike a slow traveling rhythm along the stone corridors. There is no electric light, no alarm, just the sound moving through the cold, calling men out of their cells and into the dark church. The rest of the world is deep in the middle of a single unbroken night's sleep. These men have already slept and woken, and are now beginning the most important hours of their day. To us, this looks strange, broken, unhealthy, even. But here is what almost no one realizes. The monks of Mount Athos are not the ones sleeping strangely. We are. For thousands of years, humans slept in two separate pieces of the night. One community on this mountain never stopped. This is the sleep we forgot, and the people who kept it. Start with what actually happens here, because it is stranger than the myth. Mount Athos keeps its own time. In many of its monasteries, the day does not begin at midnight or at dawn. It begins at sunset, the old Byzantine reckoning, where the clock is reset to 0 as the sun goes down over the Aegean. They also keep the older Julian calendar. Step onto the mountain and, depending on the season, the hour on the wall can sit 3, 4, even 7 hours away from the phone in your pocket. Inside that older time, the rhythm of sleep is split. The monks retire early, not long after the evening meal and the last service of the day. They sleep a first stretch in the deep of the night. Then, in the small hours, commonly around 3 in the morning, though it shifts from house to house and feast to feast, the wooden summantron sounds, and they rise for the long night services. On the great feasts, that vigil can stretch until 7 or 8 in the morning, hours of standing, chanting, and prayer in the candlelight before the day's work even begins. So they do not sleep less in some heroic, sleepless way. They sleep in 2 shifts, braided around the darkest, quietest hours, and they give those hours to prayer. Now here is the part that turns the whole story around. This is not a monastic invention. It is a human memory. A historian named Roger Ekirch spent years reading the private diaries, court records, medical books, and literature of the pre-industrial world, and he found the same thing again and again in more than 2,000 separate references, from Homer and Virgil, through medieval England, all the way to the 19th century. People did not sleep in one long block. They slept in 2. They called the first stretch their first sleep. They would wake naturally somewhere near the middle of the night, and stay awake calmly for an hour or more, and then they returned to what they called their second sleep until dawn. And that waking hour in the middle, the one we would panic about, was ordinary, expected, even treasured. People used it to pray, to think, to tend a fire, to talk quietly with the person beside them, to make sense of a dream while it was still close. The night had a room in the middle of it, and people lived in that room. Which means the monks of Mount Athos are not doing something exotic. They are doing something ancient. They kept the shape of the night that the entire human race once shared. So what happened to the rest of us? Why does waking at 3 in the morning now feel like a malfunction? The answer in Ekirch's account is light. And this is not a thin case built on a handful of sources. Dr. Ekirch gathered more than 2,000 references to a first and a second sleep, in diaries, in court records, in medical texts, in literature, running from Homer to the 19th century, across languages that had never borrowed the idea from one another. People were not describing a theory. They were describing their own nights, the way you would describe your kitchen. For most of human history, night was genuinely dark and long, sometimes 14 hours of it. There was time for 2 sleeps because there was that much darkness to hold them. Then came cheap, bright, artificial light. The evening stretched. Bedtime slid later. The long night compressed. And the 2 sleeps were squeezed together into one solid block, packed into fewer hours. The industrial world needed something else too. A workforce that woke to a factory whistle, not to the natural surfacing of the body in the dark. Sleep became a single shift, measured and defended. 8 hours unbroken, or something is wrong with you. The quiet waking that every generation before us had known was given a new name. We called it insomnia. We turned a normal room in the night into a disorder. And on one mountain, none of that ever arrived. No factory whistle, no electric glare pushing the evening later, no clock imported from the outside world to tell the body it was behaving incorrectly. Mount Athos kept the long, dark night, and inside it, the old two-part sleep, exactly where it had always been. Now, a careful word, because this matters. It would be easy to end here by promising that this is the secret to a longer, healthier life, that if you split your sleep and rise at 3, you will live like a monk. I am not going to tell you that, because the honest answer is that the science does not say it. What researchers like Ekirch have shown is historical. That segmented sleep was the human norm, and that waking in the night was not in itself a sickness. Whether it is better for you is a genuinely open question, not a promise anyone should sell you. But there is something quieter and truer worth taking from this. If you have ever surfaced at 3 in the morning and lain there, certain that your sleep was broken, you were almost certainly doing something deeply, ordinarily human. For most of our history, that waking was not a problem to be fixed. It was simply part of the night. And that is the real thread that runs through everything we look at on this channel. The modern world took the shape of a human life, how we eat, how we move, how we rest, and optimized it, compressed it, and sold it back to us as a set of rules. Mount Athos did the opposite. It chose one very old way of living and protected it completely, for 1,000 years, without asking whether the outside world approved. Their night still has a room in the middle of it, and in that room, in the dark, at 3 in the morning they are awake, not anxious, not scrolling, not fighting for sleep. They are exactly where their ancestors and ours always were. We are the ones who forgot. They simply never did. If you want the whole pattern, the food, the fasting rhythm, the daily shape of this way of life, I have put it into a short book. For the next 5 days it costs nothing. You will find it in the first comment pinned at the top of this video, together with the others I have written about this mountain. Not the description, the first comment. One tap, and it is there. Subscribe, and let's keep going together. Next time we go somewhere far stranger, what the monks of Mount Athos do with their dead 3 years after they die.